Democracy ratings in Russia have made the most significant negative jump in its entire post-Soviet history.
The Russian government intensified its repression of dissent at home. Nations in Transit 2023 documents the largest single-year drop in Russia's score in the history of the report. There were declines on 5 out of 7 thematic indicators, and the country's overall democracy score, an average of the 7 indicators, fell from 1.32 to 1.11 on a scale of 1 to 7, from the report of analysts of the international human rights organization Freedom House.
The areas where the indicators of democracy in Russia have declined critically are civil society, independent media, local self-government, and the independence of judiciary. In turn, the analysts of the Russia project, after analyzing the report, came to the conclusion that authoritarian regimes whose democracy indicators have deteriorated have a common feature. This is widespread state violence, both against protesters on the streets and against citizens in custody. Since the beginning of the full-scale invasion, Russia has stepped up repressions against dissidents. OED-Info recorded 19,718 arrests of Russians for their anti-war position. This number is only growing.
These repressions are an element of propaganda. Propagandists themselves use them as a tool to intimidate people. A case is being initiated against one anti-war activist, and in the opinion of the authorities, this case in itself will be a factor that others will be discouraged.
The Russian court is also not the fairest in the world. The resource Team Against Torture in its study concluded that in the Federation only 0.15% of all defendants receive acquittals. But there are exceptions. In cases where the defendants are officials and employees of law enforcement agencies, the likelihood of their acquittal is 25 times higher. Russia has a traditionally high level of violence in law enforcement agencies. So in Krasnodar, security forces tortured a man accused of terrorism on suspicion of setting fire to a military registration and enlistment office with electric current. They wanted to knock out of him a confession of funding from Ukraine, the SOTA Telegram channel reports.
Any system that contains signs of fascism uses the repressive organs of the state to suppress the individual. The suppression of the personality can occur both at the physical level through detention, through the use of violence, and at the psychological level. In this case, a certain breakdown of the personality occurs. A person is in a situation where he is forced to say what he does not consider necessary, and here succession from Stalin's time is felt from everyone here of these triplets. A meeting of the prosecutor Vyshinsky, who said that confession is the queen of evidence.
In Russia, they continue to destroy the freedom of the press. In the rating of the international organization Reporters Without Borders, the Federation took 164th place out of 180. It is in the company of Iran, Syria, Eritrea and North Korea.
В России государство окружило людей таким.
Here in Russia, the state has surrounded people with such a bubble. People who work at the factory, everyone watches TV. Publics in Vkontakte are accumulated by the right people, and they are pushing the thesis of the presidential administration. This information bubble that is starting to resemble a totalitarian sect.
Media outlets in Russia that offer citizens an alternative point of view are labeled foreign agents and closed down. The public organization Roskomsvoboda reports that last year the Russian authorities blocked more than 247,000 internet resources. Among them, more than 9,000 turned out to be sites of independent media, human rights organizations and projects that tell about events in Ukraine. Reported by Roman Smoler, Angelika Brushnevska, UA TV News.